how are you and the band doing?
Very well. The promotion campaign so far went very good, and we are so excited to release this album so soon because we're sitting on all these tracks for 9 months now.
Mhm.
It's been such a long campaign, but we are very excited to release this album and have a fantastic festival season in front of us.
How do you feel about the impending release of the album now that it's just a few days away?
Um, we are not as, nervous as for the last two albums because we're now kind of used to it, how does it how it goes and everything. But Melissa right now is on tour with Camelot, and our bassist is somewhere in Africa, and we're all kind of only connected via WhatsApp. But so we are partying from the distance together. So
Well, the most noticeable thing this time around are the faces. What prompted the decision to forego the mask for this album cycle? Was it a creative choice or a more practical one?
it was more practical, to be honest. We played a few shows with the masks, and then we tend to say, okay, let's only have the masks for the first three songs and then unmask. But in the end, you don't really see what you're doing on stage. You are afraid of that you bump into one another on stage because you have like a tunnel vision. And so, yeah, it's more practical. But I think we're not that ugly, so we can show our faces.
Okay. What was the timeline for creating this album, and how long did the writing and recording process take?
Well, we released our second album in October 2021, and we started writing right after that. We created some vibes, some song ideas, some basic riffs for a songwriting camp. And we had that songwriting camp all together in one house for a week in February last year. And from then on, it was like 3 months of production, finalizing, recording, mixing, mastering. So everything was done like after 6 months in June 2022. And since then, we were shooting music videos, playing our shows and the tour last year. So yeah, that was we were very busy.
Did you take on the role of producing the album yourselves once again for this release?
Yes, absolutely. We went even further than with the last two albums because we gained so much knowledge around production techniques and uh, production itself, sound design. So we went all in as the band, and we had very concrete orchestration ideas for our orchestrator. So yeah, we went down the road again because it's important that we learn. I think that we can do everything ourselves. But let's see what the future might bring. Maybe we will work with another producer for the upcoming albums. I don't know.
Well, that's great though that you guys are just trying to learn and gain knowledge, and not just trying to make it on your own, Sometimes, it's great to have, that person that, knows the ins and outs and can kind of refine the process.
That's totally true. It's so important that sometimes, I mean, we make sure with our dearest friends and musicians we trust that they get a glimpse of the album before we finalize something because but yeah, sometimes it's really helpful to have someone who has an overview because sometimes you're so close to the
Yes.
topic that you don't really have an overview of what's going on and which idea is good and which one is just there because you want to have it, not because it's serving the tune. And yeah,
No,
but
I totally understand. Yeah, it's,
yeah,
sometimes I send my photos and my articles to other people to read, to look at, just as an extra set of eyes, because like you said, we're so close to the process. I think
exactly.
that shows a lot of maturity of the band that you guys recognize that, that other people can help refine the process and you're not just so, I don't want, how else do I say, full of yourselves that you think you can do everything on your own. You have
Yeah,
accomplished so much as a newer band, but I think
yeah,
that, shows a lot of maturity. And
yeah.
what other ways do you feel that the band has grown or changed over the past few years?
Wow. We are way more confident, I think, but sometimes also we're questioning ourselves also very often. I mean, you have these up and downs as a band, like, oh, this tune is so great, and then you get the feedback, for example, by the label, and no one wants this tune as a single, and then again, you don't know exactly where you stand, and is your taste good? But over the years, we are becoming more confident in our taste, and that's, I think that's the main thing. And most importantly, we became very good live performers, I think, with the tour and the chemistry on stage. It's perfect. It's so nice playing with this band, a show. Yeah, that's definitely something we've been improving a lot.
And each album's concept focuses on a historical period and a main character. This album explores concepts of ancient Egyptian history, mythology, with Cleopatra as a main figure. How did you research and incorporate these themes into the music and lyrics?
Um, when we went for Cleopatra, it was super clear that we wanted this as the main topic because first, she's a woman, and the whole cult of gods of the Egyptians, it's super inspiring for Melissa to write mystical lyrics and just, yeah, let your fantasies spin around and stuff like that. And from the musical side, it was also very interesting because of the Oriental aspects, and the influence of this was very cool to write into this direction. And yeah, Melissa is a big history buff. She reads a lot, and therefore she wrote all the lyrics. I don't know much about the lyrics themselves, but yeah, I'm sure Melissa got everything right from with the facts and everything.
The lyrics on this album managed to be both specific to the concept or figure, but still have a relatable quality for the listeners. Do you find that this writing style to be particularly challenging?
Absolutely. Yes, because in some lyrics and some songs, Melissa wrote about the relationship of Cleopatra and her brother, and she wrote it that way that, I mean, relationships are all kind of work under the same rules, but also each one is different. And I think Melissa did a great job of yeah, finding the perfect balance between sticking to the story and make it relatable.
Sabaton has a channel where they discuss the historical background of their songs. Has your band considered doing something similar, such as a track by track breakdown of the historical context behind each of your songs?
Yes, I mean, this will come out for sure. I think after the release, Melissa will do a track by track, and I would love as well to go into a production breakdown and talk about these things. But I don't think that we will do a history channel like Sabaton does. This is this is because I think they're way more into this history.
They
Yeah,
really are.
yeah,
I've interviewed them several times and they're really into it. Very intelligent. They're just really knowledgeable gentlemen too.
nice.
Um, as for the overall sound, it's a great mix of styles that aren't just symphonic metal. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about how you developed this sound and what it sets it apart from, say, other trends in the genre?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, when we write songs, we make sure that every idea that is thrown into the pot is about to serve the song, serve the effect of the melody. And so, therefore, in some parts, it's not symphonic at all. And it's just about, for example, like when it's just about violence, that you just have a very dry band in your face sound. You don't need those sweet violins there, for example. Yeah, work for the arrangement. So in some songs we were like, hey, I want this, this acoustic guitar pattern is cool, but let's make a metal tune out of it. And then when orchestrations fit, cool. If not, then don't. And but where the orchestrations didn't fit, I made sure that there are at least some soundscapes. Especially for this album, we went all in with tribal elements, tribal instruments, dark sounds, and yeah, we worked a lot on sound design for this album to make it super atmospheric.
Did you use any new or interesting instruments that maybe you
Yeah,
hadn't used on chapter 1 or 2?
so many. I mean, I did a lot of out of the sound design, as I already said, and we have so many instruments. For example, like a kangling, that's an horn that is, yeah, a tribal horn that is made out of a human bone, and it sounds super weird and dark and horror-ish. And I implemented in some risers, in some drops, in some impacts, in some breakdowns, where you have this weird layer on top of the heavy breakdown, and stuff like that is happening in the album. It's very subtle, and sometimes it's very in your face. Yeah, but it's there, and sometimes it's a very good replacement for typical orchestrations.
As a guitarist, what was the most challenging aspect of making chapter 3 for you?
As always, the recording, because I'm here in my home studio and I'm recording here everything, and I have the time to make it perfect and to go into detail and have everything under the microscope. And sometimes I'm recording one bar literally 300 times to get it right. And every time an album is finished, I'm like, ah, darling, let's go to and order some food. And I don't know, but this is like my party day when an album is done and I'm done with recording, because this is so much work. As it's yeah. And sometimes it's also dangerous because you really get into the so close to the topic, and then yeah, you don't get time to just overlook everything, because you have to be done with your tracks then and then. But everything worked out, and yeah.
Could you provide some insight into the opening track, Eternal Rains, and the upcoming music video? I noticed that the water theme seems to be fitting, as the last video was focused on fire. Could you discuss how this theme ties into the concept of the album?
Sorry, one part of the question was gone in the internet.
Oh,
uh, can you
it's
repeat the first half?
okay, you got the first. Okay, so I was talking about the opening track for Eternal Rain in the
Yes.
the music video. I noticed that water seems to be fitting, that the last video you focused on was fire. Could you discuss
Yes.
how this theme ties into the concept of the album?
um so in this fire video, From the Ashes, this was the concept that was developed by the videographer of the video, the director of this video. And I mean, it was absolutely clear when we have a video that is about a rising phoenix, that is arising from the ashes and that was burned before, that we go with a very fiery video. And with Eternal Rains, there will be a video in 2 days for this one, and we were in the rain actually. And that was the best shoot ever. and it was maybe it's too obvious to shoot this video with a rain machine and everything, but this song is particularly about blessing down the rains in a country where this is just not usual to have, and hoping for this to come. And this is mainly, this decision for the rain in the video, for example, was because it just looks amazing in slow-mo, that you have nice shots and cool slow-mo pictures. And generally with the concept, we also like this harsh contrast of fire and water. And yeah, I think it also fits the many contrasts that we have musically in the album.
Yeah. Regarding the closing track, Legends, I understand that Melissa has a background in folk metal and that you collaborated with Kriegel for the spoken word intro. Could you share with us more about the inspiration behind this track and how the collaboration came about?
This is actually very funny because Melissa wrote this track and our drummer started to work on the instrumentation, and he had it like 2/3 of the arrangement was done by Nick, and then I went over it and had some guitar ideas, and then the main melody and everything was redone. So I'm not so sure how this happened, and but this collaboration happened because we were on tour with Kriegel from Eloviti. Not on tour, we played support shows for Eloviti, and we got to know him in person. And yeah, we wanted him as a narrator for the song. And yeah, I mean, he has a very haunting voice, so that was very fitting.
The acoustic album for Chapter 2 was amazing. I know back then that you guys had a lot more time due to COVID, but is that something you consider doing for Chapter 3, assuming there are enough hours in the day?
No, we will not do an acoustic album so quickly again, because mainly we don't have the time, as you said, because now we have a very full festival summer and some tours happening this year. So but I'd love to do maybe 1 or 2 acoustic shows in the future, or maybe 1 acoustic version, just 1 song, because this also takes a lot of time, because sometimes you have to ask yourself, okay, which song is it, and do we keep the style and just make it acoustic, or do we change the tempo, even throw out the riffs, find some substitutes for this or that idea. And before we go down that road, we want to make sure that we play many more live shows and maybe even think about another real album.
I understand. Yeah, that is, it's a lot, but we're not all just, sitting at home in our studios anymore.
Yeah.
What are some of your personal favorite tracks on the album? And what are some of your favorite solos to play on this record?
Good question. So like from the listening experience, I really love our first single, Upside Down, and the single that is about to come out, Eternal Rains. Ravenous, I love this tribal vibey, tribal heavy song. And with my 4th favorite, I go for New Dawn, just because it's so not metal. It's so different. It's so poppy and positive. I mean, the whole album is super dark and in minor keys, and the New Dawn is just the silver lining on the horizon on this album, and it's at the end of the album, and I think it rounds it up perfectly. I think many metalheads won't understand why this song is even on the album, because it's so different, but I think this is absolutely refreshing to have this happy tune on this album. And favorite solo, definitely Eternal Rains and Somewhere Better. with Somewhere Better, I went for a more crunchy spherical tone, and it's very balladesque and very melodic, and it's just, I love it to chill, play my solo on stage, and only not it's not too technical, but it's just about the expression and the feeling, and I can take my time on stage to
It's a
shape
more
something.
emotional aspect of it.
Yeah, totally. And I love that when you can feel that the audience is coming down with you, and that you just have the space to take your time for the solo, and it's not like okay, done, you know.
Yeah. You recently sold the Sarah Longfield 8-string Strandberg. Do you plan on doing any playthrough videos with maybe a shiny new custom guitar?
You're very lucky, because my new custom guitar just arrived today after 6 months of building time. I'm very happy. And there will be playthroughs, but with my spare guitar, because I already recorded them and I did not know when my custom guitar will arrive. And so there will be more guitar playthroughs, and we will actually, the whole band will focus more on playthroughs. So we will produce a lot of content regarding this.
You have the new, is it in the studio already with you?
It's behind me. Should I show to you?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Okay, wait, give me a second. I mean, it's
Nice.
completely in orange, and my girlfriend did an illustration of my initials, and I got this in some kind of, yeah, it's also headless like the Strandberg,
Yeah.
and I will enjoy all the jokes that the fans will do.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
thanks. It's like a sports car. I love it, and it plays like it's just so fucking fast. Am I allowed to say that? I don't
Yeah.
know. Okay.
That's awesome. I know you guys will be coming to Atlanta this fall for Prague Power, but do
Yes.
you have any plans for a full US tour at some point?
Yes. Yeah, we are in very difficult negotiations about this. We want to make it happen in this fall, but right now it's even more unsure if it's possible this year, because the problem is that when we go to America, of course, we need to make sure that people are coming.
Mhm.
And therefore, we have bigger bands with us, and our booker is trying to get us on a lineup with a bigger band that is going there. And the thing is, yeah, bigger bands tend to have a lot of volunteers who want to tour with them, and it's just not our call to make. And we're just still too small to just say, hey, yeah, let's go to America and lose a lot of money, because actually no one will come in this giant country. Yeah, I mean, we hear the fans and we really want to go there, but we need to wait for the right lineup, and we're really working very hard on it. We had 2 offers, and both are like, the band personally likes us and wants us to have, but then again, their agent is like, at Infinitum, nah, I never heard of them, no, let's not do it. And then you're getting like promises by the band, yeah, sure, let's make it happen. And then last minute, the agent is like, what, at Infinitum? No, I do not know. No. And that's the problem, actually. And we would love to make it happen, but it's very frustrating for us as well. But we're working on it, and it will happen for sure. Then again, I mean, we are all working on it. Napalm, our management, our booking agency, our bookers. I mean, and still, we are such a small piece of the cake, and we're not the people who are making the calls in these kind of negotiations, because these productions that are going there are so big that we have to be thankful for being taken with them on the road. So, but time will tell, and we will be there sooner or later.
And lastly, is there anything that you would, what do you hope that your listeners take away from this album?
I would love that there are some people among the listeners that are like, damn, this album, I'll remember this album for this particular part of my life. And every time they'll listen again to these songs in the future or in 10 years, they will be remembered of the feeling they had of this exact time span when they discovered the album. For example, it was Alter Bridge, their third album. I just moved to here, the city Cologne in Germany, and started to study guitar. And I was listening to this album all the time. And nowadays I'm not listening to it, but every time a song comes up from that album, I'm like, God, the nostalgia is kicking in. And I want the people to have that feeling when they are listening to our songs in 10 years.
That's amazing. Thank you for speaking with me today. Is there anything else that you would like to share with your fans here?
Yes, absolutely. We cannot wait to play for all of you, and we're so hot right now for playing all these shows that are coming up. And to all the fans in America, please stay patient. We are working hard on it. You can believe in us. I'm standing here with my word for it that we'll make it possible to play over there. And yeah, thank you for all the support. It really keeps us going, and I mean that.